Because I have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde complex, and here you see Dr. Jekyll, but you see Mr. Hyde, but you get
I've heard some of you.
When you're hungry.
Is he like a Snickers ad?
Snickers.
So Jeremy last season ended on such an intense note for Kendall, obviously, and how challenging was it to sort of reconnect with that energy in that moment when you went back into production, especially given that production was delayed something like 7 months?
Yeah, that was really hard. I mean, because also our world changed and we all experienced what we experienced, and so it was like a total break in the fabric of time and in our lives. And so we start this season, moments after leaving that room. So it was challenging to sort of try and find the way back to that and find the thread back to that. There was sort of music that I listened to and stuff that sort of helps kind of trigger you back in, and the room that we shot it in, I went and sat in that room, and but who knows, then you just sort of, once we started, it was quite easy to be back in it, but it was really difficult to sort of pitch yourself.
Did it take because I was worried it was going to take a long time, especially with like the COVID protocols and all that, but
yeah.
And it felt weird and bumpy, but I felt like by the first or second take, I was like, oh, this is it, we're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like I was worried it was going to take, okay, the first episode's just going to be a rehearsal or something. It's just not, that one doesn't count, but it actually, I guess I had that fear the first time. Did it take a while, or?
Yeah, I felt a little bit of an element of like self-awareness, which is never, sort of took a minute for that to go away. Or not even self-awareness, but just awareness of being back doing this again.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think because I was with you guys right away, and so it was just sort of easy.
Sarah, last time we spoke, hi. We talked about how there isn't actually like a lot of rehearsal on set. You kind of get in there and you go. For you, and then I'd love to hear from the rest of the cast, what are the blessings and the challenges of working in that way?
I mean, there's a lot of spontaneity that comes from that is born of that. I think in the way that, the way that we do rehearse is fairly freeform as well. And so like, we know that the camera, hitting my mic, sorry. Where the camera's gonna be and that kind of thing. And like, I do find it useful. I find like being able to sort of settle into the room and settle into the space. But at the same time, there's like, there are, magical moments that can only be caught on camera, and like, Karen, when he lifts the filter, you don't want to say it twice and have it feel stale the second time, so,
Right.
both work.
Yeah, I felt like with this show it's been different because I stopped doing homework the night before. I kind of like look at the scene and go, I don't know, it's going to be different when I get there. I can't prepare for anything. You get in the room, the space looks different, people are going to do something, and we kind of rehearse, and it's like, just shoot it, we'll figure it out as we go.
You're nodding, Jay. Is that, did you like working that way?
I was just thinking, like, when you do theater, you not only rehearse for a few weeks, and then you hopefully play it, 8 times a week for weeks, and you learn to believe that you can be spontaneous doing that. But it's sort of like a different thing, and if you have that background, you're learning your lines and rehearsing it in your head by yourself in a vacuum, and then without realizing it, I don't think I'm alone in this. You get to work and you realize you've imagined you were sitting on a sofa and Kieran's on this side and there was coffee on the table, and it's like, no, you're walking down the hallway and he's 6 feet behind you and you're, and you're drinking a bottle of wine, and it's suddenly I can't remember any lines, I just feel scrambled. And I didn't realize I was rehearsing it mentally some certain way, and I think it must be my theater training or something that you start imagining the whole thing without realizing this is human nature too, isn't it?
What I've noticed though is like guest stars who come in, once we've rehearsed and started shooting, the process is seamless enough to be, I'm like, all right, next setup, like, you were shooting all of that? that was the rehearsal. We thought you shot that. Like, yeah. Oh yeah, they got 3 cameras, they're running in the background. They got everything.
I would imagine this is a very scary show to jump on too.
Yeah.
Like season 3, which is why it's really impressive when somebody just comes in and they just like
Oh, yeah.
jump on.
They adapt so quickly.
Tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody had to come in episode 4, and he just took her like a duck to water. He was straight away in there.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Alexander Skarsgård, same thing. It was
Yeah.
like the
Alexander.
yeah, he was fantastic. We did like a couple of takes. We did one rehearsal, which for some reason ended with us like clapping at each other or doing something weird. And then we did like 2 or 3 takes, and then Lorraine, the director of that episode, she goes, "How long have you guys known each other?" I said, "That rehearsal."
Yeah.
So every year, the show gets bigger in terms of acclaim and popularity, and while I'm sure that's very gratifying, it's got to also put pressure, or could create pressure to, think about the expectations. When you're on set, how do you separate and focus on the work and not be distracted by the noise? Matthew, would you like to start?
I don't know. I think the nuts and bolts of filming just mean that it stops you thinking about it anyway, because you're just sort of doing incremental little moments actually that'll fit together. So I don't feel that. It's only if I'm away from it I think, oh, how many will we do? Will it be good? Will people like it?
Yeah.
Go off.
None of that stuff is up to us. It's just, being in the moment with our playmates, and the writing is so specific. Matthew once said, and it's not entirely wrong. I mean, it's mostly true. It's like all we have to do is put on the costumes and show up in the room with our friends, and it sort of plays itself. And this is why you don't prepare the night before, because it's going to be different. It's going to be much different than you could possibly imagine. So it's just better to be loose.
Yeah, part of the thing again, which is sort of maybe why we don't rehearse and why it's quite nice not to for this show is that, for me, everyone's so brilliant, but I can't wait to see what Brian or Jeremy or Sarah are going to do, and that will sort of inform what I do, and that will inform the way they sing.
We had such a wonderful scene together in the diner.
Yeah.
That was sort of like, we hadn't said the words out loud to each other, and we just stopped the rehearsal.
And you sort of explore it.
It's a scary way to work, but it's sort of like
We did that in Marcy.
yeah.
We just sat down and did it.
You just kind of are discovering it on the
Before we
fly.
did it, we did a couple of takes and we did it, and that was it.
I will, since this is a room with actors, I guess I'll say it's hard to not be aware in some part of yourself that people watch the show and it's the thing, and people who you care about what they think of you, and you want to do good work, and those things in a way, and to me at least, create a kind of tension and could potentially lead to a kind of blockage, and it feels like your real job is to be as unfettered and free as possible, and basically at the end of the day to be willing to make a giant fool of yourself, and so the stakes get higher in that sense, and I guess this has been about finding a way to continue trying to do that even though people are watching. You can't be aware of that when you're actually at work, but it's like, I feel like I don't know.
I just always imagine like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
I never really get that feeling.
I am baffled by the fact that people are seeing this show. I know that sounds trite, even saying that, because up here and this, but I don't know, yeah.
So, all the kid recognizes the thing, like, oh, you saw it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did a thing with a friend of mine, cool.
That day?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a secret that there's a lot of improvisation on the show, and Alan, last time I spoke to Kieran, he told me that in the pilot, when he saw you improvise the moment where Connor is talking about the aquifers and his ranch and how he's going to hoard the water, he was so
Pissed off.
he said he was so intimidated he almost went out the back door.
I did,
So
I
have you
thought the
always been
He said,
I like writers to write my lines, I like to memorize them and say them and go home. And he said, this is bullshit. And then some little switch got flipped between the time we shot the pilot and the time we started, it was about 10 months later that we actually started production on the first scene. And there's nobody better than him now. Especially if it's anything contentious or anything insulting. He's our artesian well. Improvised the crowd.
Oh, thanks. It's an asshole.
You have to be very careful. Really get that compliment.
Yeah.
My compliment.
Quick mind. Kieran's like a thoroughbred who was born and didn't know he was allowed to run. Like, oh, buddy, go. Does it feel? He just learned to run and then can't stop him.
God, you guys are assholes. Tony Brooks, this is not an appropriate thing to say. I'm saying anyway. My career's probably over after this. No, Tony protests. He goes, "Is it true?" He goes, "You didn't improvise until this show?" I said, "No, not until this." He goes, "Well, then why?" He said something like I could have taken as an insult. He goes, "Well, why do you do it so much?" I don't know. I guess it was like I don't know. I didn't have sex for 36 years and then tried it once. I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." That's sort of what it felt like. But what it really was that seeing Adam on the freaking megaphone, the pilot, go, Cameron and Alan, talk about your ranch, and then you just did. And I remember like questions because I asked Alan, like, don't ever ask me to do that. And then calling on the thing to go like, okay, now go to Sarah, and then you just did too. Badly. We were shooting on film, and I'm like, get everyone on the film. And then I was filming the morning, I was like, hey, I was like, holding, like, sort of clutching, it was Molly, the actor, I was like, and they didn't run the film, I had to say something, so I did, but it's just the most terrifying moment. Like, look at these people, they're doing their job. I'm doing my job.
That was probably the strangest like re-audition as well. Like we're shooting a pilot and now they're just like throwing a camera around and seeing what you come up with. It was very nerve-wracking.
It was terrifying. There's, I can't remember the second season, Roman talks about like, oh, he's in the training thing, and he says, no, this isn't just an exercise, this is rank and yank. That's what the moment felt like. If I fail right now, I'm out. They're either going to pull me from the pilot, they'll recast me, or my part becomes this or something.
Yeah.
How do you gotta perform?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. You did good.
Sorry. Ryan, what are your thoughts on improvisation? I've read that you don't mind it.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Whatever gets you through the day. My son is an improviser. He's a very good improviser. So, and I will do it. There's no call for so much for, because if you're a man of few words, as Logan ostensibly is, you're just looking for the few words that you've got on the page rather than make any more few words that you have to improvise. So I kind of avoid it, but I don't mind it.
Fair enough. So, Jay, in the premiere, we saw Jerry get a very important phone call, being told that she's now the CEO. Hell yeah, by the way. Well, we only hear one side of the conversation. What's so great about your performance is you convey so much. We know it's a huge moment just through half of the conversation. What was that scene like to shoot, and how did you want to approach it?
Well, that seems amazing the way it was written, because there's such build-up about who's going to get the call, if anyone, and so much boasting and psyching each other out between these two. And then there's also this awkward seduction scene trying to happen, and then Jerry quietly gets this call, and I think that part of her expected the call, and that part of her is just trying to give Logan a feeling of confidence and readiness by not overreacting to it. And part of it is the feeling of like, uh-oh, now I have to also towel Roman, and will that kind of be fun? It's all those things. So if your mind is full of things, even if you don't have a lot of dialogue, you're thinking powerfully through all these steps, and it can be engaging.
Well, and there's a lot of great phone acting in this episode. There's the sort of cringy call that Roman makes trying to pinch himself, and Logan's just giving him the least. Karen, when you shoot that, are you acting opposite the air, or is Brian there? How does that work?
First thing that was funny is when that scene, I saw the episode last night when the scene came up, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like, this was something, and I forgot what happened in the scene, and I ended up going, oh, he's doing it, bro, he's doing it. He's stepping up to the, oh, he's shot himself in the fucking foot. I forgot. For the most part, I hate the technical thing with the phone and trying to get the person on hook, so I actually just did that. You know, when I've done like Jenny's play, her husband's play, This Is Our Youth, I think I have like 12 phone calls I have to take with nobody, and so I find that a little bit sort of easier to do. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, you really always want the phone call.
Yeah. When it's possible, I guess because I feel like I'm in like a first person. Is that what it's called? Like a first person video game. What's it called?
Okay.
First person shooter.
Yeah.
I have an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
In the sense of like things are just coming at you, and ideally you're in a state of like I have no idea what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna respond, but I feel like I only know how to respond. And so I find that when I've done it in a vacuum, I start sort of like, I don't know, just it's more of a control
Controlling
response. Like I'm acting rather than just responding.
Well, because
It knocks me out of myself.
Because I kept trying it too, because I'm like, I want a scene partner, and I want like, but then I find it fucks with the rhythm of what I'm trying to say, and then I can't get the, I lost them.
Yeah,
you know,
that part is hard.
and then it's in my head now.
No,
It's almost like,
that part is hard.
yeah, it's almost like we're trying to remember your lines. It's like I gotta get the thing with the, what do you say? I don't know. Let's try.
But like when you got when we had a call, it was like the group call,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
Those are really difficult to do.
I know, and it's such
Well, the
a
9 million times.
yeah, you know. Thanks for that and all, all of that. It was like I was
You weren't happy
very
about
I was
it,
very
right? That was the day you were not happy.
What was I not happy?
Well, we just had a massive phone call. It was like just very difficult to get everybody on the phone.
Oh, it was fucking awful.
Well, they shot their side, so I asked the sound department to splice in his one line, which they did, because you weren't available that day, and I was very grateful to you guys. I tried it without, and it was so different when you guys were there.
Matthew, one of your the greatest things about your performance as Tom is how easily he can sort of oscillate from nice guy to like savage a-hole, and there's that moment in
It's a great reflection.
there's that moment when he barks at Hugo while on the call with Shiv in the premiere. Are those scenes just fun to play for you, or how do you
Yes.
find that
I
balance?
can't, yeah, it's my favourite, it's my happiest place. Very flipping back and forth. It just, it's great. It's great. Because I think that's what people do. I mean, to varying degrees, but Tom is like one of those, he's a sort of shapeshifter in that way. He sort of changes, I mean, we all change depending on who we're interacting with, but Tom really does. He's like a sort of amoeba. So I really, yeah, I love it.
And I'd love to hear a little bit about your relationship as actors with the writers and with Jesse Armstrong, who created the show. How much input do you have in the development of your characters? Sarah, I think we talked about this last time a little bit. Like, how much do you feel like you can have a give and take with the writers about what you think is motivating Shiv, or however you want to discuss her character?
Yeah, I mean, I find one of the greatest joys is like getting to find out what happens. And so reading a new script is like, ooh, a new serial, what could happen? You get to like discover what they get to do next, and that's not just true for my character. I want to find out what happens with Tom and Greg, or with Kendall, or with Roman, and so I feel like there's the challenge then set if they've pushed Shiv into a particular direction. It's like, great, do I think my character would do this? Maybe not, but I'm up for the challenge. Let's see if we can make it work.
Yeah.
But there's an open door, there's an open channel. It's really nice to have the collaboration available to us from Jesse and the creators.
We don't like go in there and give ideas of what direction our character's going to go in or anything like that, but there's the freedom to speak up if something doesn't feel right.
Yeah, he honors the fact that we know our characters intimately as much or more than they do as writers who have sat with them for X amount of months in the writer's room.
He's such an incredible collaborator, and he doesn't have to be as generous and open as he is. And he's the final arbiter of things, but I do feel like Sarah said, I feel like that channel is open, and there is, I sent him an email, I send lots of emails, I sent an email that the title was just rant. But I'll say things like, I feel like Kendall in this season is like the guy in Mary Poppins who, when he laughs, he just starts levitating, and if the moment he stops laughing, he's gonna fall, and Jesse will say, okay. But, yeah.
I only had one thing with Jesse. I mean, my thing is never to suggest. Because as soon as you suggest, you're going to be turned down. And disappointment is terrible. So what I did was, I just had one thing where he wrote the word, oh, he's a Nancy. And I went, no, you wouldn't call somebody a Nancy. Logan would call them a faggot. I know, but that's Logan. I'm talking about Logan Why. I'm not talking about, what's it, politically correct speaking. But it was interesting that he said a Nancy, and I thought, nobody would know what a Nancy is. It's such a British expression from the 50s, and they all know what the other word is. But that was the only time that I had a little dispute. And it was
Which
resolved.
way did they go? I don't remember.
Faggot.
A couple different things, because it was to me, I remember.
I mean, he throws in great big bowls of gubbins, which we presume is a Britishism that turns out to be a completely made-up word.
I use it all the time. It's great.
Bowls of gubbins.
Jay, was there something you wanted to add about this? Do you talk to the writers about it?
Yeah, sometimes I'll say things that I, just run something by Jesse, but I also, they have this habit of letting the camera keep rolling when we run out of dialogue. And I think I mentioned, Brian and I did an interview today together, and I said, it sort of feels like you're on a National Geographic special and they're just observing the animals. I feel like they sort of get some ideas about our characters from us kind of bumbling along after they, after we've run out of their good lines.
I sort of feel like we get to know our characters a little more in that way as well. There's a lot of the sibling rivalry or play that has come out of them not calling cut and letting us invent.
Right.
And a lot of that improv stuff doesn't necessarily make it, it's not necessary, but there's something about the layering that creates.
Keeps it alive.
Yeah, it's just right.
To me, definitely, it does inform those things that are happening in the
Yeah, yeah.
It really helps. Yeah.
And Alan, how much input would you say that you've had or wanted to have on your character?
I make numerous suggestions, and none of them have made their way into the show. I said, at one point I said, just like JFK's younger sister, maybe Connor spent too much time in the birth canal and was deprived of oxygen, and so he's a little slower than his brothers and sisters, and Jesse was like, oh, interesting. What was another one? I said, what if I just dump all my Waystar stock? The old man won't give me any money. Why don't I just sell my stock for 50 cents on the dollar? He said, oh, that's very good. Yeah, it's good. But he went another way. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Succession is a large and wonderful ensemble. Not everybody was able to be here tonight. I'd love to give.
Who wasn't? Oh, where is he?
He's working, I think.
Oh, he's still there. Oh, yeah, he's still there.
And so I'd love to give you guys an opportunity to give a shout out to another cast member who maybe isn't here. For example, I love Fisher Stevens this season.
Oh,
He's so great as Hugo.
He's
Wonderful.
fantastic.
Wonderful.
Hope Davis is with us this
Hope
season.
Davis.
That's fantastic.
Arian.
Arian.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Friedman.
Oh, yeah, Peter Friedman. Yeah, absolutely. And David Russell.
David Russell.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dagmara.
Dagmara.
Justine,
Justine.
Isabella.
Yeah.
Justine, indeed.
Annabelle.
Annabelle,
Yeah.
yeah.
I almost feel like there could be a Frank and Carl spin-off. Like there's sometimes like
Yeah, yeah. And you know, what's so much, what I think is really interesting about the show and how the show's developed is that Frank, Carl, and Jerry are as much family as the boys and the young lady is. And I you know, that's what's sort of emerged from the show, the loyalty, and that's why I think it's a no-brainer that naturally, I mean, you know, Jay has the ethical face for Waystar, so naturally she would be, it's a no-brainer that
Yeah.
she would be CEO, acting CEO.
I know.
So, Jeremy, you are somebody who really puts yourself through the ringer when you're playing a person who is suffering.
You put yourself through the ringer.
On a scale of, in terms of emotional stress, where would you say Kendall's journey this season ranks versus 1 and 2?
Well, you know, I thought something that was so just brilliant on the part of the writers, Jesse and all of them, is that in a sense there's a sort of like key change. This character has been in this minor key for the whole, you know, first 2 seasons, and now there's this sort of major key, and there's a feeling I had of being sort of airborne, like there's a I think I see myself as a savior, and there's a messianic quality to what Kendall is doing. And so he starts out really on top of the world, and then they manage to once again sort of take that place and bring it down to the sort of ninth rung of hell in a way that feels very, I guess they bring the character to a place of real despair and I think hopelessness. And so, you know, yeah, it was, but the writing is just tremendous, and yeah.
So, but made it through. You're good.
Made it through, yeah. You know, got to a good place in the end, and you know, but I think you're just trying to, yeah, you're just trying to serve the writing and inhabit it and whatever.
It seems there's an interesting sort of gender dynamic also hinted at in the premiere, in that, you know, Shiv and Jerry are both very much like, no, we've got to cooperate, we've got to, and the men are like, fuck it, we're not, you know, and I'm wondering if that's something that you see playing out through the rest of the season, or?
Good question. Did we do that the rest of the season?
What was it?
Just in that,
Cooperate with governance.
yeah,
Well, so there's-
cooperate
Well,
with women
everybody sees the good
women
in
are
that.
sensible.
Except for,
Well, no, everybody. I think I'm the only one who agrees with, except Logan, who agrees with me. I think everyone is. No one else is backing.
it's just the
Carl and
other
Frank don't
yes,
see it
and
either.
they
Oh,
won't say,
yeah.
they won't say what they really think.
Yeah, right. Okay.
For the rest of the season, I don't think so. I think there's a fairly risky split. They tend to be. I mean, she at one point is willing to take a risk against going against something that Logan had otherwise said.
And so, just a quick quiz, raise your hand if you've ever accidentally walked away with a piece of wardrobe.
Not accidentally.
Can you rephrase the question?
Walked away with a piece of wardrobe, raise your hand. What did you walk away with? Do I need to count?
There's a lot.
Quick story about you. We were shooting the airplane hangar. It might have been the first season, second season. And the moment they said wrap it, you went, old theater trick. And you took off your wardrobe and you were wearing your clothes. And you went, good night.
That isn't a description of my contempt. So, no, I sometimes socks. I end up with a lot of socks. There's a couple of shirts I quite like. There was a particular gilet, which I really rather liked. And there was this odd suit or two that I really rather liked. And there's a couple of shirts. There's suspenders.
Connor has a book he's quite attached to this season. Have you ever walked away with anything?
I can't remember, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I only did just this season have take some things fell off the back of the truck. They need to be accounted for if they're ever asked for them. Is the rule. But also you have this sort of optimism of like, yes, I'm gonna refashion my wardrobe and I'm gonna look professional in my life for once. And then the season comes out and you're like, can't wear that. I'll look like I'm being the character. I'm out seen out in any of this stuff. There was one scene actually that got cut from episode 6 that I was joyous about because that is a fantastic jacket. I'm unwilling to press, like in the publicity stills there was a set of ones in that jacket. I was like, I want to kill those, but I didn't. But get that jacket. I had the jacket.
Alright, so I'm going to give the last word to Kieran and tease the upcoming season in 3 words. Go.
No, thank you.